The stepdad paradox. This is addressing a problem that stepfathers have, all stepfathers have in common, and I'm making this blog to address to other stepdads how to get over this terrible looping problem. So basically what happens with a lot of stepdads, 50% and 50% not, is that sometimes you lose your children when you break up with your girlfriend or your wife. And the reason for this is because they're not your kids. They're your wife's children. Just to be honest about it, whether or not you raise them or not. So most of the time they'll side with the mother, and then you become a nobody. And that's really what this is. It's like the antithesis of what some children fear when they get abandoned. So a lot of times when you enter a family, the children are stepchildren because they were abandoned by their natural parents. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're alive and just have faced adversity with their mothers. So how do we deal with this? Well, the idea is that you have to understand that there is a kind of two sides of the same coin when it comes to the stepchildren and the stepfather, because there is an insecurity that never goes away. And it only goes away until you make a startling realization for yourself. And I only had figured this out recently. So here's the idea. There's always this fear if the mother finds another man, or you're too sick, or the mother's just doesn't want you anymore, that they leave with their family. And then all of a sudden, you may love the children and so forth, and maybe you raise them for years, you will be nobody. You would just simply no longer be in their life. And the reason why, because you're not their biological parents. And this is what stepfathers have to deal with all the time. So it's always in the back of our heads. There's a way to get over this, okay? And here it is. So stepdads and overstepping our boundaries and learning to be satisfied with what we are. I've been a stepdad for a very long time, and I actually hate the title because a lot of times in media they use stepchild and stepdad in bad ways. I mean, how many movies, in all honesty, do you see stepdads being portrayed as good dads? It's hardly never. So in fact, I'd much rather just be called by my name without any parental title at all. So over the years, I made some huge mistakes. This is probably because I was young, and when I began being a stepdad, I was not experienced. So one of the biggest mistakes I made wasn't trying to replace their fathers. But you got to keep in mind, I was never trying to replace their fathers consciously, but in the back of my mind, I was. And I think that most stepfathers do this, whether they know it or not. The sole compulsion for that is the source of this massive insecurity in me, and I am certain there's also a massive insecurity in many other stepdads too. One of the most terrible crimes for us as stepdads, as stepparents, whether you're stepdad or stepmother, is interfering in the evolution of our stepchildren's relationships with their biological fathers. So even if they have a bad relationship with them, it is not our place to interfere. It hinders the growth or betterment that relationship could potentially grow into that has nothing to do with us. So sometimes all we have to do is simply be there to destroy the natural relationship between the biological relationships of children. Okay. So over the years, I've come to realize that I have projected my own insecurities onto my stepchildren. I'm always trying to make them mine because I'm very possessive. When in reality, they're never going to be mine. That's just the truth of the matter. The reason why I had those compulsions is because I love them. I love them a lot and I raised them and I want them to be my kids. But reality has a different story. They're just not mine. Okay. And so what to do? Would you just continue living with that fear? Of course not. It's got to be solved some way. And this was a very hurtful thing for me until I realized that it was me. It was me that was causing the unnatural, emotional pain and causing these kind of a looping ideas. It was me. So I'm a very mentally sick person. And I've gone through, deep family trauma in my past since I was actually born, really. So the idea of becoming a stable father figure was unrealistic. It was just doomed to begin with. So I'm not actually a very good person either. I mean, I'm moody, I'm jealous, and I'm often irrationally angry. None of those make good traits of the father figure of any kind. So you see, I should have started things differently because there was nothing ever wrong with me just being me, just being myself. So I'm actually so sorry for possibly destroying any natural relationship between my stepkids and their real fathers. I'm very regretful that I may have I've done maybe interference, and I'm regretful of it now. So in the long run, we step people are just kind of like visitors to our families, albeit very long time ones. In some sense, we're simply loved ones that are alone in a way, as we can never be the real thing. No matter how much we try, we can never be their real parents. And then that sucks. But hopefully we could be good enough to actually stand in for them. So what is the answer here? Well, the key is in learning to be satisfied with just being ourselves. We have to learn to be satisfied with just being ourselves. That means not going after a title. So I've seen bad stepdads use families to turn them against each other, or some of these bozos that scheme and take away property and money from them. First of all, these people are not stepdads. Or stepmothers or whatever. These people are despicable homewreckers, not step people. But there are good stepdads and stepmoms in the world that really love children, small or grown, as if they were their own. And that's just it. It really is good enough to love your family as is, meaning loving them just as you are, not trying to be something we're not. And I'll always be there for my family in any way I can. But I no longer need or crave to fulfill this title, like chasing a title all the time. I'm truly content. I'm finally happy to be just me and know, hey, that's good enough to genuinely love them for a lifetime. The key to being a good stepfather here is knowing your place, but still doing everything you can to raise those children as if they were your own. Because even if they are biologically not yours, the love and knowledge that you instill in them certainly is.